Sila Gatti to the Let's Talk Thyroid podcast, all the way from Melbourne. This is Aussie week in the Let's Talk Thyroid podcast, it feels like this week. So welcome from Brisbane. I'm from Brisbane and you're from Melbourne, so welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show, Annabelle.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I've been looking forward to talking to you actually because I've been drinking not coffee, which is your product,
Yes.
but we're going to get into that in a little bit later. And I think when I first started, if you're a regular listener, you'll have known that I wouldn't say I've totally given up coffee, but I've been having now an almost 3-month break from coffee. Let's just say that.
Fantastic.
And I went looking for alternatives and found not coffee, which we'll talk all about. But what I love is that not coffee came about through your thyroid story. And so that's what I want to hear all about first, because I love to share people's thyroid stories.
Yes.
Because we're all different, that your story is very different, I'm sure. Not that I know it, but it's different to mine. And people listening will learn from your story in a way that they'll never be able to learn from mine. So thank you for being prepared to share your story. I think that takes courage.
Yes, thank you. And I don't get to share my story all that often. I do have a section on my website where I do have a little bit about my story and how Not Coffee came about, but I don't really go into detail too much unless somebody asks me. So yeah.
Yeah, well, here I am. I'm going to ask you. So Sila, tell us a little bit about what led to you thinking you had a thyroid problem. Like, tell us a little bit about you, and as much as you want to, and then the start of your thyroid story. Like, what did you notice? What made you think you might have a thyroid story? How did that fit into what was going on in your life? Give us a little bit of intro.
So I think it was in my early 20s, which would have been over 10 years ago now. I was quite heavily into exercising, gymming, weight training, taking stimulants and over caffeinating, over stimulating, all that stuff. And I felt something weird going on in my throat area, and I'd kind of had this like maybe throbbing sensation at times. Like, that's weird, I've never felt that before. So I decided to go to the doctor and just get some checks done, and they did some blood tests, and they did an ultrasound. They found that I had some nodules on my thyroid, benign nodules. And my blood tests came back. My thyroid hormone levels were absolutely normal, except my antibodies were really, really high. So they put it down to, they actually misdiagnosed me at the time, and they said that I had Hashimoto's. And I said, well, what's Hashimoto's? How is this going to affect my life? Because I didn't have any symptoms. I didn't have, apart from that weird sensation in my throat, I had no other symptoms. I was relatively healthy. And so they said, because you're young now and your body is relatively healthy, you probably won't get any symptoms. But later down the track, whether you have a big change in your life, or you have some hormonal changes, you have a baby maybe, you'll get the symptoms. So I said, okay. And I said, is there anything I can do now to prevent that? They said, no, you can't prevent it. I said, well, why have I got this? Oh, it's probably just a genetic thing. It's probably runs in your family. And I said, and I asked my parents and my grandparents, does anyone in the family have any thyroid issues? And no one that they know of had any thyroid issues. So I kind of left it at that, and I kept doing what I was doing. And I then got to a point, I think it was around my mid-20s, where I couldn't really sustain that lifestyle of overtraining, not eating enough calories to support my body, over caffeinating. So I kind of almost went the opposite way, and I really just got sick of the gym, and I didn't even want to look at a gym anymore. So I kind of went the opposite way, and I was still drinking a lot of caffeine, but then I'd eat whatever I wanted. I kind of binged on chocolates and things that I had deprived myself of. I had a really, you'd say, not a very good relationship with my body when I was in my 20s. And so my weight was fluctuating. I'd lose weight, I'd put on weight, I'd over exercise and I'd stop. And, it was that was just my 20s. And I got to my 30s and I started kind of the relationship I had with my body was changing, and I was I guess more comfortable in my skin, you'd say.
Hmm.
Still, I had, I was self-conscious in ways, but I started doing some more training, but just more I'd listen to my body, and I'd exercise. I'd do as much exercise or as little as I felt like I should do. So,
Hmm.
and when I met who's now my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, he's into his gym and his fitness, and he loved training, and he'd take supplements and pre-workouts and things like that. So we'd go to the gym together, and because I had that experience with the stimulants and the pre-workouts and stuff, I kind of wasn't I didn't really want to take any, but I thought, oh, if we're training in the morning, I might as well just have a pre-workout, give me some energy. So this is about 4 years ago. I started taking pre-workouts again, and
Can
we
I just
would,
can
yeah,
I
sorry.
just ask, when you say pre-workout stimulants, like what's in that? Like what's in it, that is it just caffeine? Like is it what's in it that's
Oh,
stimulating?
it's they've got, I think, all sorts of ingredients, but caffeine
Hmm.
is definitely one
Yeah,
of them,
okay.
and
Yeah.
other stimulating
Yeah, okay.
ingredients. And
Yeah.
the thing with pre-workouts is, I think a lot of people don't realize, or young people don't realize, just the dangers in taking such a highly caffeinated products is, especially on the back, they've got, like, in small writing, it says if you've got heart issues or if you've got thyroid issues, don't take this product.
Ah,
Uh,
interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
and or if
Hmm.
you're going to be taking this product, don't drink any coffee throughout the day. But nobody reads those. And when you're young, you think you're
Mm-hmm.
invincible. You're just like, I'll do
Mm-hmm.
whatever I want. I'll, take whatever I want. And so, yeah, going back about 4 years ago, I started taking these pre-workouts again, which I shouldn't have. And I believe that that's what triggered my now Graves' disease. So, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know that at the time. And that's why I said I was misdiagnosed initially 10 years ago when they said I had Hashimoto's, because um, 4 years ago, when I started actually developing the symptoms, the thyroid
Mm.
symptoms, they were Graves' disease symptoms, which is hyperthyroidism. So,
Have you switched? Because it's common to switch between Hashimoto's and Graves'.
yeah, oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
So,
No,
and it's,
yeah.
yeah, you can have antibodies to both, I think.
Mm,
Um, so you
okay.
could have had the Hashimoto's antibodies back
Mm,
then and
mm.
still have, yeah. So it's not an uncommon thing to switch. So,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that's interesting.
Hmm.
Maybe I did, and I just didn't know it at the time, or yeah, the doctors
Yeah,
just
it's
didn't.
hard to know because they don't, like you said,
Yeah.
you were asking all the right questions. I was going, when
Mm,
you was talking earlier, I felt like saying, yeah, you knew to ask the right questions.
yeah,
Can I do anything else? Why would I have
yeah,
got this? But you
yeah,
were kind of left in the hands of doctors that don't have the answers to those things.
yeah, yeah. Or
So,
just,
yeah,
yeah, don't care enough, really.
it's a tricky one. So, sorry, I
Yeah.
interrupted. So, 4 years later, now you've got grave symptoms. So, what sort of symptoms were you noticing?
Yeah, so the first symptom was that I was had a really high heart rate, just
Hmm.
even just while I was sitting, not doing any exercise, my heart rate it was just out of control. It was like 120 beats per minute.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd jump on a treadmill and I could go for 2 minutes, and then I felt like I was about to collapse. And I thought, oh, it's just the pre-workouts that I'm taking. It's just maybe I'm drinking too. I shouldn't have the pre-workouts and drink my coffees as well. So maybe I'll just stop the pre-workouts and I'll just continue doing whatever else I'm doing, and it'll just get better. And it didn't. And then I started. shaking, and I had the shakes, and I had muscle weakness and things like that, and anxiety, just this kind
Mm.
of constant anxiety. So I thought, okay, I'll go to the doctor, get some bloods done. They saw that my thyroid hormones were out of control, and then they
Mhm.
said, you need to start taking medication. You've got Graves' disease, and you need to get your thyroid levels back to normal. And I was like, okay, no, I don't want to take medication. I'm not going to do it. So I didn't. And I said, it'll just get better on its own. I was fine. I was fine. I had no issues. It's just these pre-workouts. It's these pre-workouts, and I'll stop them, and in a month I'll be fine. And I didn't take the medication. My symptoms got even worse.
Mm.
Um, to the point I was just like, I was paranoid. I thought I had something else, and I was Googling all these different things, and I was like, why are my muscles so weak? Do I have, something else? So it got to the point where I was like, okay, I think, and my husband said, you really need to do something about it, because it's just
Mhm.
not good. And I had these really horrible headaches. These just it was like someone was just drumming something on my head.
Mm.
Horrible headaches. And anyway, so they sent me to an endocrinologist. He put me on carbamazole, I think 15 milligrams a day to start with. And within a matter of a couple of weeks, my um, symptoms had gotten better. And then I think within a month or two, my thyroid hormones were down to normal.
Mhm.
So that was my journey with taking the medication. And so I took the medication, and I did ask the endocrinologist, is this because of my diet? Is this because of my lifestyle? Is there anything I can change? Can I eat something different? Can I do something different when it comes to what, how I'm treating my body? And and I was living overseas in Dubai at the time. So this
Ah,
wasn't,
okay.
yeah, I
This
wasn't
wasn't in
diagnosed.
Australia. Okay.
Yeah. And so I just don't think they cared enough. And like, no, it's a genetic condition. It's it's got nothing to do with what you eat or what you drink or whatever else. So it's just, you have to take the medication. So I thought, all right. And that was very close to the time where we were going to leave Dubai and move back to Australia. So I thought, I'm
Mhm.
just going to go get all my checks done in Australia, and I'll speak to someone in Australia, because I do trust the medical community here a lot more than I would overseas. So I got back to Australia. We just kept taking my medication. Then I started seeing an endocrinologist here, and she really didn't give me any. Again, she just kept me on the medication. She said she'd monitor my the nodules, because I still had the nodules, and she said, "See how you go with your medication, and I'll see you in another year, and then we'll discuss what to do from there, whether we do the iodine treatment or we remove your thyroid, because I don't think the thyroid medication's really that great to be taking very long term."
Mm.
And that just freaked me out. I thought, no, like, because if I get the iodine treatment, that's going to kill everything. I think it kind of kills all the hormones or whatever in your thyroid. Then you've got to take other medication to help your thyroid levels. And then obviously removing your thyroid, that's just major surgery. So I thought, oh God, I don't want to have to go down that path. So I just kept taking the medication. I was taking the medication for about 2 years, and I started developing other weird health issues. I didn't
Mm.
change my lifestyle. I didn't change my diet. I just kept doing what I was doing, drinking coffee, drinking alcohol, eating whatever I wanted. And then it was about 2 years into me taking medication, and I started developing some severe vertigo. Um, and
Ah,
I,
okay.
yeah, and I developed a blocked ear, a left blocked ear, and I wasn't
Mm.
sick or anything. It wasn't because I was congested. It just was this blocked ear, weirdly. The vertigo, severe anxiety, panic attacks, and that was just like, I felt like I was going to die. I thought, like, I can't live like this. This is just it's debilitating. I couldn't get out
Mm.
of bed when I had the vertigo. Everything was spinning around me and I just couldn't get out of bed, couldn't work, couldn't do anything.
Mm.
And so I went to the doctor for that, and they did all sorts of scans, did head scans, did blood checks, and they couldn't find anything wrong. And I think the GP just gave me a piece of paper to contact. There's some sort of national service or something that can help manage symptoms of vertigo, but did not give me any other kind of advice on what I could do, even about the blocked ear. And so I thought, I can't live like this. I need to take it, maybe a natural approach. Maybe I see a Chinese medicine doctor, see if that helps. So I Googled Chinese medicine doctors, and there was one very close to where I live, and she's ended up being the most amazing thing that actually happened to me.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I thought I'll just have a consultation. I was a bit skeptical at first. I thought,
Hmm.
oh, how's this really going to help? But, I had to be
You get
open.
desperate. You get
You
desperate
get
because
desperate.
then your mainstream medical aren't helping you.
That's
They're
right.
throwing their hands up and saying, "No, not connected. Can't work it out. You're on your own."
Yes.
So that's what happens to most of us,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then
And
yeah. So your Chinese medicine doctor was really
yeah.
helpful.
So I had a consultation with her, and the first thing she asked me was, what's your, what's the problem? What's your lifestyle like? What do you eat? What do you drink? And she looked at all of that. Have you had any major surgeries? Have you been taking antibiotics? Have you been under general anesthetic? All these things, can lead up to, different imbalances in the body. And she did different checks on me, and they do kind of tapping, and I don't know how she discovered it, but she said you've got an imbalance in your liver, a severe imbalance in your liver. And I said, well, the doctors did all sorts of checks and my liver function was fine. She said, yeah, they'll tell you it's fine, but from a holistic perspective, and I don't know the way they do their checks, she said, you've definitely got an imbalance in your liver. And what that imbalance, and that's why you've got the vertigo, that's why you've got the blocked ear, and that's why you've got your thyroid issue. And I said,
Mm.
how is it all related? Well, she said, the imbalance in your liver almost is doing is it's creating a draft in your body. So it's like this wind or draft or something, and it's all kind of just, you know, leading, and all the pressures are up here in the head area. And that's why I've got the thyroid issue and the blocked ear, and the vertigo. And she said, we need to look at how we're going to cleanse and balance your liver. And so she didn't overwhelm me. She started on just literally changing my diet, not even changing, just eliminating things. And coffee was one of the first things to go.
Okay.
And she said, you can't drink coffee, you can't drink even decaf coffee, no chais, no black teas, nothing with stimulants in them, none of those mushroom coffee alternatives or even the cacaos, because they still have, even if it's not
Caffeine.
caffeine, even if some of them don't have caffeine, they still have some sort of stimulant in them.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think cacao's got a little bit of caffeine, but the ingredients are quite invigorating on
Mm-hmm.
the body. And she said, I went gluten free, dairy free, swapped white rice for brown rice, ate a lot more greens, a lot more vegetables, hydrated more, things like that. She gave me this herbal tea to drink and just a couple of supplements, like a prebiotic to heal my gut from all the antibiotics and the the effects of general anesthetic for some surgeries that I had in the past as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, so she did that, and the coffee thing was probably the hardest thing. And I said, do I have to, can I just drink decaf? She's like, no, you can't even do decaf. And that just killed me. Because I was one of these people that I would think about the coffee that I was going to have the next morning when I was laying in bed at night. And I was one of those. I was, it was like my comfort. It was, I'd be like,
Hmm.
oh, I'd be in bed. I'd be like, okay, so I'll wake up, I'll have my coffee and, I'll sit at my desk or, it was just such a comfort thing. It was like,
Mm.
coffee was like my best friend. It was always going to be there. It was always going to make me feel good, make me feel safe, because no matter what I woke up to the next day, no matter what was going to happen in the day that was unexpected or whatever life was going to throw at me, coffee was just always going to remain the same and it was going to be there for me. So that's the kind of relationship I had with coffee.
And were you drinking a lot of coffee, Scylla? Or just
Uh,
one? Or how many coffees were you having?
I was probably having about three a day, and I'd
Okay.
like them.
Mm.
I'd like them pretty strong. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, three quite strong coffees a
Mm-hmm.
day. Um, I couldn't have coffee after about 12 or 1 because it'd just keep me up at
I was
night.
going
So
to
I'd have,
ask that. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
that
So
was
I
all in
wasn't,
the morning. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I wasn't one of those people where I could have a coffee at 4 or 5 in the afternoon and I could still get to sleep or I'd be fine. I'd
Mm-hmm.
still, yeah, like my last coffee would have to be at the latest 1 maybe. So yeah, so
Mm.
that's kind of yeah, where my healing journey began
Yeah. Wow.
with
That's
with yeah, with the thyroid. I mean,
with
I
the
could keep going if you
no,
like,
no,
but
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. The so it was really. It sounds like you know. I don't think anybody that I've spoken to has a short thyroid story. That's
yes,
everyone has.
yeah.
I think thyroid stories in their nature, it takes a long time to develop. Often people don't get
Mm,
diagnosed, misdiagnosed, treated. Then it takes a while before you realize that's not enough. The medication, maybe you need it, but it's not the whole picture. So I think what you've just described is, I mean, it's your story and it's got lots of unique things, but the fact that it is, spans a decade or so, is like it just seems normal that
mm,
it shouldn't be normal because sort of that's
mm,
so frustrating. But
mm,
that those
yeah.
twists and turns and ups and downs and frustrations seem to be very much a part of a lot
Yes.
of thyroid stories, and they
Yes.
never end. So
Yeah.
you said that was the beginning. So seeing the Chinese medicine
Mm,
practitioner was the
yeah.
beginning of your thyroid healing journey. And
Healing.
was that, how long ago was that?
So that was 2 years ago now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did what she told me to do, stop the coffee, did went gluten free, dairy free, took the supplements, she did some acupuncture on me, and I'd see her once a week for a few weeks or a month, and then we dropped it down to twice a month and then once a month. And within about 4 months of seeing her, I had stopped my thyroid medication
Oh, wow.
completely. Yeah.
Wow.
And I haven't, and I was a bit like, well, am I going to relapse? I was just a bit worried. And I did
Mm-hmm.
also get some advice from my endocrinologist
Mm-hmm.
um, and, and I told her what I was doing. And she said, well, you're kind of at a point where you can probably just stop the medication, because I slowly, just decreased the amount I was taking.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and about 4 months in, I stopped taking it completely, and it's been 2 years, and I haven't relapsed, and I'm healthier than I have ever been, really.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, and
So you're still off the coffee, still off gluten and dairy?
so yeah, the initial part was, yeah, stopping all of that, and I once I was at a point where I felt like I was healed, all my symptoms were managed. I didn't relapse. So I think probably about 12 months in, I started to enjoy cheese and yogurts, and if we wanted to go out for dinner and have a pizza or something like that. So I allowed myself. And that was because like, I did the cleanse. My liver was stronger, my body was stronger. So, I was able to eat those things that I enjoyed. But I never have gone overboard and, gone and binged on things. And, if I have say a pasta tonight that's got gluten in it, tomorrow I'll make sure I eat extra veggies. So I'm more mindful about what
Hmm.
it is that, how the, balancing what I eat as well. And my husband's a chef, so that
Oh, right. Oh,
that kind
wow.
of,
Okay.
an Italian chef. So you
Oh,
can
that,
just imagine,
okay. That's a bit tricky. Yeah, the gluten
yeah,
would be
yeah.
tricky. Yeah.
But I was
Okay.
lucky enough that he actually went on the actual cleanse with me, and
Hmm.
changing his diet with me. He stopped the coffee as well, so you can imagine it was quite hard for
Oh,
him
yeah.
as
Did you
well.
did you kind of bite each other's heads off for a
Oh,
few days?
it was. I mean, it was so hard that I had to come up with a coffee alternative, and that's how not coffee was born.
Yeah, that's right.
It was just out of desperation. It only happened out of desperation, really, that not coffee was born. Um, so
Yeah,
I think
because not having coffee is a desperate situation to be
it
in. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, for us, I think the giving up we were able to give up everything else because we were relatively, I'd say, healthy people.
Hmm.
Um, for us to give up dairy and find alternatives to gluten and things like that, and just eat more veggies, it wasn't as hard as giving up the coffee, because having coffee was like our morning ritual together. It was something we enjoyed together. If on a weekend, say on a Sunday, we were able to kind of sleep in or stay in bed, one of us would go down, make coffees, come up, and we'd sit having our coffees in bed, with a toast or whatever. So it was kind of like that thing we did together, and not having that, just it was the hardest thing. Like, we got over the caffeine addiction after a few days. We had a few days of those withdrawal headaches and things like that, but the having not having that ritual was, I
Hmm.
think, the hardest thing for us.
Yeah.
And one morning, I think it was about a week into it, I'm like, we woke up and my mind was just racing. And I'm like, I just want to get up and make a coffee. And I couldn't also have chai, like I said, because that's got black tea in it.
Mm.
The mushroom
Or
coffee alternative,
cacao,
or
or
cacao.
so you're left with herbal tea,
So,
and let's face it, herbal
and
tea
yeah,
doesn't really cut it, does it?
yeah, yeah, it didn't really cut it. And
Yeah.
so I was like, I wish there was something that looked like coffee, that acted like coffee, that tasted like coffee, but it wasn't coffee, and it didn't have the stimulants, and it just didn't have all the, things that I'm not supposed to have. And I thought, hang on a minute, maybe there is something like that. And I kind of searched and searched, and I couldn't find anything. And then I thought, oh, what if, I'd create something like that, but and it'd be called Not Coffee. And I kind of it just all came to me at once
Mm.
one morning in bed, and the name, the everything just kind of came to me all at once. And when my husband woke up, I said, oh, I've got this idea. What do you think? Do you think it's a good idea? And he always agrees to my crazy ideas. And I guess that's what husbands are supposed to do.
Mhm.
So he was like, yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. And I said, do you think there are actually any ingredients that taste or resemble coffee? And he's like, yeah, I'm sure there is. And we did some research, and then he remembered that back years and years and years ago, his father used to drink something in Italy, and it was a this chicory based kind of, it was a
Oh.
coffee alternative. And we kind of looked that up, and we found that they don't even sell that anymore. It was something that was done so many years ago. And then we just started doing research, and from there we literally went to iherb.com and ordered, I don't know, like 15 different ingredients that we thought could taste like coffee.
Hmm.
And we tried all different ingredients. We roasted some, we blended some, we put some together. And actually, the other thing that we had to really make sure was the ingredients that we're selecting had to be gluten free as well. We couldn't have any dairy, and they had to be all stimulant free, because I know there's some other coffee alternatives. They've got like barley in them, and barley has
Oh, I see.
gluten
It's
in it.
gluten. Yeah.
So we had to really, and we wanted to make sure it was just really very few ingredients, and
Mm.
just wanted to keep it super simple as well, because you go to the supermarket and you pick up something and there's like 50 ingredients in there, and we just wanted to keep it as as simple and as nourishing as possible, and something that anyone with any health condition can enjoy, whether you've got high blood pressure, low blood pressure, I know thyroid issues. Yeah, we wanted to be nourishing for everybody. So yeah, we kind of did the research and we found the perfect blend, and we started making it and drinking it ourselves. And then we started getting our friends to try it and family to try it. And they're like, "Oh, this is actually pretty good. This is great. How did you do this?" And we've actually converted some family and friends as
Oh,
well.
that's impressive, especially in
Yes,
Melbourne, because if you're listening from outside of Australia, Melbourne's like the coffee hub of
yes,
Australia. It's that we're all the,
absolutely.
I mean, I should say, I think we have pretty good coffee in Brisbane. I think we have amazing coffee in Australia compared to lots of other parts of the
Yes,
world. But
yeah,
but Melbourne is known for its coffee. So if you're
absolutely.
converting Italian Melbourne,
Yes,
Melbourneites, from an Italian background, then I reckon you've
yeah.
found the holy grail.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, and then I thought, okay, well, it was obviously originally made for us to enjoy during this not able to drink coffee. But then I thought, well, I'm sure there are other people in my position that have been told they can't drink coffee anymore, or that their body just can't handle coffee anymore, and that they're looking for alternatives. So I thought, well, why not take it to everyone else, to the rest of the world, and yeah, change people's lives and help them like it's helped me.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's where kind of the journey of Not Coffee began.
that's fabulous. So how long ago was that? Still pretty
So
recently.
that was yeah, almost like 2 years ago that
Hmm.
we started developing it. So it was basically after we had to stop drinking coffee. It took us a good, it took us about 8 months, 6 to 8 months
Mm.
to get the grind, get everything right, and we also had to make sure that we could get the ingredients and get them in large quantities as well, because
Hmm.
if we can't get them in large quantities, then we can't really take it to market and have it enjoyed
Mm.
by and consumed by everyone Australia wide. So there were obviously challenges in that, and it's it's a food product business. We had to get the right premises, the commercial kitchens, the licensing, all that kind of stuff as well. So it was definitely a journey in learning how to bring a food product to market as well.
Yeah.
And I've got and it really helps that my husband's a chef, so he knows his way
Hmm.
around commercial kitchens, and he was able to he knows how to uh, use commercial ovens and grinders and things like that. And I've got a marketing background, so I was able to create the logo. I was able to create the website, create all the copy and the content and all the imagery, and do all the labels, manage all the social media. So that helped keep costs down as well. That I was able to do all that,
Mm.
and it kind of happened. When there was it was we were in and out of lockdowns, so it was kind of our little side hustle, so to
Yeah, a good
speak, and
project.
our
Yeah.
project. And yeah, we finally got it to market, and it's been just over a year now, and we've got thousands of customers. We have repeat customers. We've got new customers every day. I have people reaching out to me, women like you and me, reaching out to me, sharing their journey, their health journey with me, telling me how much Not Coffee has helped them or changed their lives. Um, Sharing their the illnesses with me, and
Mm.
how Not Coffee has really just helped them, just get up and enjoy that ritual, even though they can't drink that coffee, or even enjoy and feel like they're drinking a coffee with other people who can drink coffee, so they don't feel left out anymore.
Yeah, it is a gift. So, I mean, that's how I came across you. Like I think I said at the beginning, um, was yeah. Like I went to see my naturopath, you know, I mean, listeners know lots of my story, but um, I was just like, there's something I'm doing on a regular basis that's not working for me. And, you know, I've
Mm,
made lots and lots of changes. And I'm like, I think it maybe, I said to my naturopath, is it the almond milk? I think it's the almond milk. And she's like,
mm,
it's the coffee. I'm like, you sure it's not the
mm.
almond milk?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like,
we're always that first initial, there's a denial,
because
definitely.
I'm like, but I've similar, like I have given up everything else. I don't eat gluten, I don't eat dairy, I don't eat
Mm,
sugar, I don't eat, blah, 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 you know. But coffee's been that one thing for me that
mm.
probably like you, like don't not the coffee. Like I'll give up the milk, you know, I'll give up.
Yes.
And again, it's the ritual. There's something I don't actually when I stopped, I didn't get any withdrawal symptoms. So
Oh,
I
good.
would only just have one in the morning, double shot, but one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've said, I don't think I'm addicted to the caffeine. I think I'm addicted to the ritual.
The ritual. Yeah.
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 And so I don't know
Yeah.
whether it was just the social media algorithms that, you know, your advertising probably picked up that I
Mm.
wasn't drinking coffee. I'm sure that's what it was.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, not coffee. Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
And I think when I'm doing something different, I go looking for the fun things to
Yes.
make the hard thing a bit more fun. And so, oh,
Yeah.
not coffee. That sounds interesting. So went
Yeah.
exploring and I was like, oh, actually, this tastes all right. And I actually know I lie. When I first found, I came across it before I'd given up the coffee
Oh, okay.
because my husband has never drunk coffee because caffeine gives him
Oh.
tinnitus.
Oh,
So he's never drunk
wow.
coffee. He's never drunk coffee. And I think I might be getting my story mixed up now. I think I'd actually seen it. I thought, oh, maybe that would be good for Lee. Like he could have the not coffee while I have my coffee.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
actually what it was. Um, because I'm thinking I had it, like I only had it a few days after I'd given up coffee. So I don't think I'd bought it that quickly. So I think I might have had it,
Mm.
thinking, oh, I'll be a really nice wife. I'll buy it for Lee so he can have a
Yeah.
not coffee while I have my coffee.
Oh.
And I don't know. I think we maybe gave it a go and he didn't really, it just sort of, it probably just sat there for maybe over Christmas.
Mm.
Maybe I got it just before Christmas. Anyway, that doesn't really matter. But then when I
Yeah.
was like, not coffee, I'm like, right, not coffee.
Mm.
And
Mm.
yeah, it was like, oh, actually, that, yeah, you know, like if you had a coffee and then a not coffee, like, it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
But then like a day after like 2 or 3 days of no coffee, I'm like, no, this tastes like coffee.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
And
really good. And it has been a
yeah.
really nice being able to keep the ritual of having a
Yes.
coffee without having the coffee, without the caffeine. I make it mine with almond milk. I've
Mm-hmm.
started adding a few other little bits and pieces into it, you know, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a really, and now Lee's having one with me, like when he's working from
Oh, that's
home.
nice.
So
Yeah.
it's nice. Like now we've
Yeah.
got something we can share together. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
this is really good, you know.
Oh, that's so good.
So
Yeah,
thank
some
you. It
people,
is a gift.
that's great. And, some people find that they need to drink it a few times to get used to the taste. Some people find that even after drinking it for a couple of weeks and they've given up coffee and then they go to have a coffee, they're like, well, actually, I don't like the taste of coffee anymore. And I know you asked me earlier, have you been off caffeine completely since that cleanse? And yes, I have.
Mm,
All caffeine and stimulants. Uh, I have tried to have a coffee, like I tried to have a decaf. I think one of my friends was having a decaf or something. I thought, oh, I'll try, just out of curiosity. And
mm,
I just didn't like the taste, and yeah, I just don't like the taste
mm.
of coffee anymore, which is yeah, strange for someone who just loved a good strong coffee with no sugar.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't have and the other thing that I don't have is that attachment to coffee anymore. It was an unhealthy attachment that I had, whereas now I'll wake up and I'll have a not coffee or I won't have one. I don't have an unhealthy attachment to waking
Hmm.
up and having to have something there uh, to make
Hmm.
me feel
So that
feel
kind of
good.
addiction to the ritual has been broken.
Yes, it has. It has
Hmm.
as well. And like I still enjoy, in the
Hmm.
afternoon I'll be like, oh, okay, it's just I just do what I feel now. I don't have an unhealthy attachment to any kind of I need to have this at this time. anymore,
Mm.
which is
It
nice.
sounds like part of your healing journey has been, a healthier relationship with food and your
Yes,
body, and
yes,
that it sounds like in part of the thyroid healing, there's been a lot of that whole body relationship with food and
yeah.
drinks and things, healing. So that's really beautiful.
Absolutely. And I think I always try and look at the spiritual side of the aspect of what's going on in my life, and even with illness. And I thought to myself, what's this kind of the spiritual meaning behind me having, Graves' disease, an autoimmune
Mm.
condition. And an autoimmune condition is essentially your body is attacking itself. Uh, and I thought to myself, on a spiritual level or on an emotional level, like, my body attacking itself. And I thought to myself, ever since I can remember, I have attacked myself, whether it's mentally, whether it's, emotionally. I have throughout my life, not loved some part of my body. Like, it could be from my nose to my lips to my hair, my arms, my boobs, my butt. I've always had a
Mm.
problem with some part of my body. If it wasn't my legs one day, it was my feet. If it wasn't my feet one day, it was something else. I'd, go and do something to change something I didn't like, but then I'd hate something else. And I'm like, I'm constantly, and not just my physical, also who I am as a person, or maybe the
Mm.
mistakes that I've made. I'd constantly be attacking myself. And
Mm.
and I kind of, at that moment, I realized, I'm like, this really just, goes hand in hand. And so I've had
Mm-hmm.
to really change, the way I spoke to myself as well, and the way I saw myself
Mm.
when I looked in the mirror. So there's definitely been a lot of that in my healing
Healing.
journey. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, that's definitely a common part of that autoimmune healing. And that, I mean, when I wrote a book no, it wasn't last year, the year before, about thyroid health. And originally it was called Kiss and Make Up with Your Thyroid, because
Mm,
we need to make up, as that coming to peace, that coming to terms with your own, I mean, slightly different, like coming to terms with the fact that you have an autoimmune condition, that you do
yeah.
have, a chronic health issue that needs to be managed. We need to kind of make peace with that. But I love the way that you've put that. It is, stopping the self attack, the mindset piece is so key to our healing. Is, reframing the way we think about ourselves, our body, our food, all of that. So I think
Mm.
you've really put that really beautifully.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
And I even, I do enjoy doing personal writing and writing poems and things like that. And I
Mm.
actually wrote a letter to my body, called Dear Body. And it's just, me basically apologizing for, all the years of
Mm.
hating myself and hating some aspect of myself. So maybe I can share that with you at a later stage, and you can share it with your audience if you like. So yeah,
Oh, well, if you would share that, I'm sure people would be beautiful, but that's a very personal thing. So that's entirely,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
um,
Well, if it can
up to you
help
if you would
help
want to share that. Mm.
yeah, if it can help other people, and if I can share my journey, and my experience and the things that have gone on that I've had to overcome, then yeah, I'd love to. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's kind of,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, where, and like I said, we launched Not Coffee, and now it's enjoyed by so many people. And we're still in the very early stages, so there's still a lot of people that don't know about it, that need it but just don't know about it. And we're
Mm.
just doing our best now to get as many people to try it as possible, and
Yeah.
to hear about it, and yeah, get it out
Yeah.
there.
Well, if you are listening and you're in Australia and you want to give it a try, then where should people go, Scylla? How do they buy it? What's the story?
Yeah, so they can, jump on our website, www.notcoffee.com.au. and you'll see our whole range there. We wanted to make sure we had something available for every kind of coffee drinker. So we've got our ground version available, which is the Not Coffee Original. We have our instant version for those who don't have a coffee machine. So there's Not Coffee Now, which is our instant version. And we do have the Not Coffee pods as well. And we have flavors. So for anyone who just wants to enjoy a little bit of a flavor in their Not Coffee, we've got the hazelnut flavored Not Coffees and also the vanilla as well. And we're trying to get it out there into different stockists across Australia and into different cafes. So if you have a look on our stockists page on our website, you could maybe find a stockist that's near you. But that's definitely something that we're looking at growing in this next 6 to 12 months as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think you said you had a special offer for anyone that's listening. Do you want to tell people what they would need to do to access that as a bonus gift?
Yes, absolutely. So for 20% off your first order, you can apply the code Thyroid20 at checkout, and you'll get automatically 20% off your first order.
Beautiful. That's very kind. That's very generous. And so I would encourage you, because you should give it a go. Like, at least give it a go. I think I'm a regular customer now. I've certainly placed more than one order. I did a bit of bulk order like the last
Yes.
one, so I'm not running out. It's good. So give it a go. I think I love supporting small business. I mean, just as one small business to another small business, I really like that. A lot, and yeah. So I think I like to do that. So I'm happy to support you. So it's good.
And we do have sample packs available as well for people who just want to try it first and without committing to a big packet. So they can always select the sample size when they're selecting which size that they want to purchase. Yeah. And yeah, so I'm really glad that as someone who has been enjoying it, it just makes it even more special for me to be on your show. And the fact that my thyroid issues are the reason why I developed Not Coffee. Like, it was never it was never my intention to one day own a coffee alternative company ever. It just
that's right.
It wasn't something that I planned. And when I was actually, and I think I commented on one of your podcast posts on Instagram about how sometimes an illness can even be a blessing. When I was going through all those debilitating symptoms, the vertigos and the uncertainty and the anxiety and the panic attacks, I was like, there has to be something behind, like there has to be a reason why I'm going through this. And I pray to God, I'm like, God, please let this be a blessing. Let this be something that that I can't see yet. Let this be a blessing that I don't know. And it sure was. It definitely was. And it's so strange because after I woke up with the idea of Not Coffee and started developing it, and not long after my thyroid, I was off my medication and haven't had a relapse since. So it all just happened, and it was like my thyroid issues had to come into my life so that Not Coffee was able to be born.
Yeah. Well, I think so many good things come out of adversity, and so many. I mean, if I didn't have a thyroid condition, I wouldn't be doing this podcast. I mean, I don't have a passion about some other health issue that I don't have. So I think that's the way God works. You live with a certain thing, and then, well, how can I use my experience, what I've learned, to help other people? And I think that's exactly what you've done. That's certainly what I try to do on this show. And I think that's where a lot of innovation comes from too, is necessity is the mother of invention. And so I think that, for all exactly what you just said, like, I think there's so many gifts in our illness, like, and when you've confronted with something and you have to come to terms with it, yeah, there's lots of crappy parts, but there's a lot of gifts. And I think that's a mindset shift, which you were talking about before. And when you can make those shifts and you can see the gifts, then I think that actually really helps. Oh, it helps
Mm.
you personally, but it also then means that you can think beyond yourself to other people, and that is the true gift.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And
yeah.
just hearing people's journeys and stories and how not coffee's helped them, like that's just what keeps me going. It keeps us going because there have been many times where we've just wanted to give up. We're like, what are we doing? Like, this is not something we intended on developing a company, a coffee alternative company.
Mm,
And it's not easy. It's definitely not easy going out
mm,
into business and taking that risk and um, making investment into certain things. It definitely has been, especially coming out of the uncertainty with COVID and now the other uncertainties that we're living with. Um, it definitely has been challenging, and there have been many times where I'm just like I want to give up because it's too hard. Because you feel like you just keep putting in and putting
mm,
in and putting in, and but then I get a positive review, or I get an email from
mm,
someone saying, "Oh, you've just helped me so much." Or I got an email
mm,
from, oh, sorry, I got a review from this lady who purchased Not Coffee for her dad, who's had ongoing heart issues, and he's had to stop drinking coffee, and he couldn't enjoy coffee with his wife anymore. And she's like, she put the review on Facebook on behalf of her father, and she said, my father's now able to enjoy a coffee with her mother. And I was like, oh, that's just absolutely beautiful. So
yeah,
that's what
that's,
keeps us
yeah,
going. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Completely. Well, thank you so much, Scylla, for sharing your story and your heart and your journey and a little bit about Not Coffee. I really have loved this conversation. I loved having you on, and yeah, looking forward to getting this story out because I know it will really be. I think it'll be an encouragement to people, whether you know, whatever your thoughts are about coffee. Like I just think your story and your healing journey will really be helpful for many people. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Annabelle. I really appreciate it. And I think before we started recording, I was just telling you how much yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you on your podcast because yeah, it's just the fact that you drink Not Coffee and the fact that, this podcast is about thyroid and that's why Not Coffee was born. So it just makes it all the more special. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Let's Talk Thyroid. If you have enjoyed the content, or perhaps you're thinking, oh, my mum needs to hear this, or my sister, or my bestie, I would love it if you would share this episode with them. That really just helps spread the positive and practical message of Let's Talk Thyroid and helps that broader thyroid community, our friends and family, to live well with their thyroid health. So you can just, share the episode. If you subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast, it's free. It's really helpful because then you'll be notified every time a new podcast comes out, and it just makes it much easier to find. There's usually a little subscribe button or a bell or follow often is the terminology. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, that would be helpful. Of course, if you want to leave a review, even better, just a sentence or two about how the podcast has helped you. You can definitely connect with me via letstalkthyroid.com. That's where you'll find access to my book, my coaching, my freebies, and really everything that I offer in terms of thyroid support.